morning. The sun's wonderful. Oh, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about again. God's help, though, I'm sure that something will pour out of my brain very quickly. I talk about so much, it's hard to pick things, right? So the flat earth is all through the Bible. If you're a Christian, you should just automatically believe in the flat earth. It's just that simple. In Genesis 1, it doesn't say God set the earth in motion around the sun and then created billions of other earths all throughout billions of miles of space and billions of years. And it certainly doesn't say that he made life through death. Like, evolution says that everything came through death. That's not what God says. It's in total conflict with what he says. So, let every man be a liar. It doesn't matter if his degrees or what other men think of him. He's still just a man, and he's going to lie. He's corruptible, easily corrupted, right? Whereas God should never lie. Let every man be a liar before God. And that doesn't mean that everyone stands before God and lies to him, though we do. It means what he's talking about there is that every soul is corruptible by Satan. So you cannot trust man. The heliocentric model came from the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church at the time, 500 years ago, they had religion on a lockdown worldwide. The whole earth was theirs. And then they started to lose it, and they came up with this heliocentricism to put a divide between man and God. They've been evil all the way along. You know, and they worship statues, and they worship the cross, and they worship the Virgin Mary, and the Pope. Say that the Pope's above God or whatever, or not above him, but like his word is God's word, and he can overspeak the Bible. He's just a man. Every man's a liar. The Bible doesn't change. It's been changed. It's been manipulated. Those Catholics needed to change the calendar. They had to get away from the perfect calendar because it makes you see Earth too perfect, right? It's too much of a clock. So they had to get away from the 13 months and all that. So they went to this stupid 12-month calendar. And they infiltrated the Bible. And they did. I know that insults a lot of people. The Bible's protected by God and it can't blah, 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 blah. It'll never be. Yes, you're right. It is protected by God. So if you go back to the Hebrew Bible and the Hebrew teachings of the original writings, then you'll find out that it wasn't a 12-month calendar. The Hebrews believed in a 13-month calendar. And there were 13 tribes because Manasseh, who was Joseph's son, was blessed by Jacob as one of the tribes of Israel to make it to 13. And it was through God's hand and God's blessing and all that stuff. So for that change to have been weaved into the Bible was probably Satan's biggest win. But he didn't destroy the Bible. He didn't remake all of the scriptures. But he definitely manipulated the calendar part. And then a bunch of things surrounding that. It's obvious. So, study books, study Bibles, study, not Bibles, sorry, study the Bible, but then look around at religions and other Bibles, and you'll see that the Bible's been manipulated many, many, many times. It's never been destroyed. It's always here. And the bulk of it's the same. But all these little things are added in there. Or other books are put alongside, like the Mormons or whatever. Book of Joseph or whatever it is there. They're confusing. But whatever. It's just another way that Satan can manipulate the Bible. But it just didn't work out for him. The Bible saved all those Mormon people, and they're all under Christ. They just do all this other weird stuff that is unnecessary. I do a whole bunch of unnecessary things too. I practice Hebrew. So I won't eat pork, or I break my rules a little bit here and there. I'm a sinner, of course. But I know that the biblical rules were put into place for our benefit. It wasn't for God's. And so to listen to those rules is to your benefit. It's not to God's. God benefited when I went to Christ and I gave him my soul and I confessed in him that I believe, and then I actually believe. That's all he wanted. Now, he said, okay, now here, and once you believe, here's a list of things that you can do that will make you healthier and happier and make your life better. It's not to my benefit, as like this in God's words, wouldn't be to his benefit. It's to your benefit to do these things. X, whatever. Not eat shellfish. Don't eat pork. Don't swear and sin and sleep around and love your wife, respect your parents. All these things are going to benefit your life on earth. The power of God will be able to bless you more. The power of God will be able to bless you more and more and more. Every time you walk closer to Jesus' walk, you're closer to the universal power of this earth, this plane, God's power, the real power, not Wiccan and witchcraft and necromancy or whatever. That's all part of it, right? But, and like Jesus and the disciples could do all that stuff. That's why it's all part of it. Like, that's how you know, okay, that's all God's power. That's all granted through him on this earth. It's just that power can manipulate your decisions, your way of thinking, and your way of acting, and all this stuff. So he hid it from us. He gave it to the angels to do, that knowledge and that power, and they were to serve in a capacity of basically an uncle, a caretaker, the nanny, more or less, for mankind. But instead, the fallen angels chose to sleep with the daughters of men, and so they made the Nephilim, and then they thought they were creators, and it all went to their heads, and they fell. And then they taught those women that they fell with all the stuff that we call, witchcraft, makeup, weapons, a forgery, like an actual forge, forging steel and killing people and making jewelry and all that kind of stuff that we do. That all came from them. That was their job, to do that stuff, and or to protect us from that knowledge, as we weren't strong enough in our will to have that knowledge. Hence where we are today. Hence the flood. With all that knowledge, we just went straight heathen. Interesting, right? But I never talk enough about the flat earth science, I don't think. I talk a lot about young earth science, and I can show you how everything that you think is wrong, like earth aging science, I can talk a mile about that. And I know a lot of flat earth science, like, that a gas cannot be contained in a vacuum without a container, right? Hence aerosol cans, right? Your hairspray cans and stuff. You can't have the pressure that's inside of the hairspray can without the can, right? Then you just have a pump spray. You have to have that container, pressurize that container in order to make it a aerosol spray. Same thing goes for the Earth's atmosphere, right? And then the movement that they talk about in heliocentrism is retarded, crazy. The sun's moving, the Earth's moving, the moon's moving, everything's moving. And we're moving around the sun instead of the sun moving around the earth. And for a long time they said the sun didn't move. which made more sense. But now they say it's moving at 66,000 miles an hour or something fucking crazy. Well, why doesn't it have a tail? Every other comet in the universe has a tail. Where's the sun's tail from its movement? It's not there. It's non-existent. The rays of the sun, when it comes through clouds, makes triangles. The heat of the sun is felt instantly. When it goes behind a cloud or when you get into the shade, it's not 93 million miles away heating up the entire Earth. No. First off, the fucking heat from the sun wouldn't be able to travel through space because there's no molecules there. And then even if it did, it would get evenly distributed throughout all of space before it would ever get to fucking Earth. Like, even if it was putting out its own molecules, those molecules would be broke down and spread out. You know, get a box, seal it all up right around your own hand, and seal it all up to a vacuum cleaner. Flick that vacuum cleaner on. See how long you can take it. But it ain't long. Be the worst torture that you could do to somebody to watch their own hand turn to liquid and evenly distribute throughout that little box. Because that's what would happen. So when Buzz and Neil went to space to go walk on the moon, and he had a little zipper for him to pee out of his spacesuit, he'd have been sucked out through that zipper, evenly distributed throughout space. With the sun moving, the earth moving, and the moon moving, when they were standing on the moon, all that movement, first off, they never would have made it there. Because you gotta, all that movement, plus then you're shooting a rocket off of the earth and trying to maintain all that movement, the inertia would have killed them. Thousand miles an hour, and then the Earth's movement is moving, and then the moon's going around the Earth, and it's trying to stay between the Earth and the moon with all that movement going on. and the feather never moved at all, but the earth moved to them. Just happened to be in the right direction. It was dumb. First off, no wonder he got promoted right through NASA. He's famous. People fucking bragging about him at a party I was at the other day. I think I insulted him because I got pissed off about it. Fuck. I didn't say they were dumb, but I said he was dumb, and his conclusion was dumb, and that he's a fucking moron and should be fired, and really should be taken out into the streets and hung. Lying to kids and lying to people and taking people from God and doing all this shit for his own wealth and money and greed. He knows better. Him, Neil deGrasse Tyson, all them guys. Bill Nye. Destroying kids. It'd be better that a millstone be tied around your neck and you'd be dumped into the big, deepest ocean in the world than what God's going to do to you. Hope you're ready for that, Neil. Bill Nye. Don Pepite. And that other nerd, I can't even remember his name. Which is good. I don't really need to justify him by remembering his fucking name. What a moron. Which brings me to my next point. Bill Maher. I called him a moron on my comments. That's something he was talking about. Because, again, he's like the right and the left, where they argue over two things, and neither of those things is at all a good solution. The good solution's over here, and they never ever talk about it, discuss it. It's pushed out of the conversation altogether, and then they'll fight passionately about these two subjects to try to make all you people confused. And it's like, oh, gas cars, electric cars. What about water, guys? What? No. Gas cars or electric cars. We need to burn something. We need to fucking... We can't give you free energy. What about making Tesla coils on everybody's cars? No! Fuck, no. On everybody's houses. No, we can't do that. Let's have solar panels and wind. Mine cobalt and shit. Destroy the earth. And then all you morons think, oh, well, it's better than mining coal or oil. No, it's no fucking different at all. No different at all. Think of it like this. If I was to compare you to the earth, if I took oil, that would be like me actually dissecting your heart and taking out parts of it. If I took your minerals, like cobalt, gold, whatever, that'd be like ripping your nervous system out of your brain. If I took water, burned it, and turned it back into clean water, vapor, and then it came back down as rain, or even if I just put it into my gas tank and let it perpetually run into my own motor and never put anything into the atmosphere, that'd be like you donating a little blood. Which would you rather have? Would you rather me dissect your heart? Dissect your brain and nervous system? Or would you rather go give blood? But anyway, YouTube was like, you should check over blah blah blah, make sure you're not against our community guidelines before you post this post. And it was because I called him a moron. It was at the very last thing I said, you moron. Are you a moron? Or something like that. And I thought, what a horrible, horrible time we live in. He is a moron. In Joseph Stalin time, people like him, or unfortunately Steven Crowder and the conservative side, Tucker Carlson, they were useful idiots, right? So they were used to destroy and cause dismay and fuck up the system, right? And then Joseph took over, Stalin, put himself into power and started doing all this fucked up shit. And then they were like, holy shit, we gotta stop this guy. He's crazier than we thought. So then they were about to try to speak out about him, because now they realized what they had done. They were like, holy shit, we made a huge mistake. We gotta stop this. And it was firing squad, firing squad, firing squad, firing squad, firing squad. You think your lives are more important to these people than those lives were to Joseph Stalin or whatever? Like, just because you're famous. Oh, you're on Fox News. Oh, Bill Maher's got his own show, and everybody knows his name. Well, everybody knows George Carlin's name as well. They fucking shot him with a heart attack gun, which is a real thing. The CIA's had it for a long time. Janis Joplin, Mama Cass. Mama Cass went on and on. You gotta vote and blah, blah, blah. And she was always talking about voting and all this stuff. And then she started to smarten up. Died at 27 before she hit 30, before she got smart enough to fucking realize. Seemed like Jim Morrison, all those 27s, all in the same hotel and shit. No, they were assassinated before they were 30. That's why the secret societies want you before you're 32 or around 30 years old. That's where they want to recruit you, because your mind is just before that next breakthrough of actual understanding. Your third eye, where that little dot of light is, boink, starts to open for real when you're 30. And they can stop it, close it, and seal it for them. Well, I said a lot about Flat Earth there, didn't I? And everything else. But see, with the Flat Earth lie, they were able to lie all these other lies. You knew, like, the beautiful clock and the sun is close and all that stuff, and you notice that, okay, there's no molecules in space, and that light's supposed to be millions of miles away, and it's weeks old. But when it goes behind a cloud and then comes back, it's like 10, 15 degrees different instantly. And I can feel the heat of the light on my skin, even if I'm going down the highway at 100 miles an hour. I can feel that instant change in heat when the light touches me, as opposed to when it's behind a cloud or behind a tree or behind a building. I just think that there's got to be some negative word for a person to believe all that blindly. And it's called brainwashed. But then at a certain point, these people aren't brainwashed anymore. Now they're brainwashing. And now, maybe the Tucker Carlsons and Bill Maher, sorry. Bill Nye's a fucking shill, and he knows exactly what he's doing. But Bill Maher, I give him the benefit of the doubt. He might actually, I actually thought that way. When my education was that low, and I didn't understand, it was pretty easy to think that way. Because you think your education's high. You think that people's education is even higher, you know. And you think, oh, these Neil deGrasse Tysons and these guys, they're working with numbers that are huge and billions and trillions of light years, and they see and do all this fucking stuff, blah blah blah. They're so smart. No, not really. They're just liars. And they'll say, we don't like the word lie. We prefer to say that we misrepresent the truth. What the fuck's the difference? You know, sugarcoat it. PTSD, shell shock. That's what it is. It's shell shock from being shocked by fucking being bombed. You don't have PTSD because you fucking fell off your bike. Right? You don't have PTSD because you were in an abusive relationship. Right? You got hurt. You got no idea what those guys went through over there, going to war, being bombed, being shot at. The kind of tragic things that we wouldn't understand yet. You will soon. We keep bringing the foreigners over here, refugees. And it's all the wrong people. And then we're teaching them wrong think. So we'll have all that war right here. Justin Trudeau's been training Asian troops on how to work in the winter and stuff, and how to take over countries in the winter. And it's like, you're teaching the Chinese how to come here and fight us, take over our country. And well, Justin has already said that he looks up to them.